girl's way, but covered by quickly clamping her lips shut. Naturally, she didn't mean for her mouth to open before her brain properly filtered her shock. Em was nothing if she wasn't the epitome of Southern decorum. That Southern diplomacy was why Dixie had given her the position of general manager at Call Girls, Inc. She was tactful, kind, and able to appease even the crankiest of customers, and she always did what was right and decorous, even if it killed her, though mostly this behavior was due to her incredibly kind heart. She'd earned Marybell's deepest respect since coming to Call Girls, newly single after her ex-husband had all but abandoned her and her boys to live his life as a cross-dresser. Em was down-home tough, soft and pliable like Play-Doh on the outside, but made of steel parts of resolve on the inside. There wasn't a coon dog's chance in purgatory she'd acknowledge just how astonished she was. Instead, she carried in a large crock-pot bowl with 2 heart-covered oven mitts over her hands to protect them from the heat. Em assessed Marybell for a moment, brief and fleeting, before her eyes flickered and proper Em was firmly back in place. "We brought you—" She almost stuttered the words, gazing down at Marybell. But then she caught herself, reacting, and forced her shoulders to square and her spine to straighten. Em cleared her throat. Soup," she finished with a warm smile full of perfect white teeth and ruby-red lipstick. "Chicken soup, for your poor flu-riddled soul, you sweet phlegmy angel." Em set the crock-pot on the old chest Marybell used as a coffee table, dropping the mitts next to it. Marybell murmured a thank you into the collar of her bathrobe. Em flapped her hands in the way she always did, signifying that her kind gesture was much ado about nothing. "Did you really expect we'd let you suffer all alone? Not on my watch, miss. Mercy, we've been worried to death about you ever since you called in sick earlier today, Sugar Plum. Dixie said you sounded like a congested bullfrog, and weak as a kitten to boot. You have to feed that cold, which is why we all cooked up something and forced our way in here like the interfering henpeckers we are." "Rolls," LaDawn repeated again stiffly, clearly still experiencing aftershocks of the holy Hannah in a wetsuit variety. "I brought rolls. With butter." She pointedly tapped the basket. Marybell smiled in an abstract, afraid-to-meet-their-eyes way, too cold to pull her hands from the confines of her bathrobe to take a roll, too rattled to move. "Yum, butter. How kind. Thanks, girls." She dabbed at her eyes, red-rimmed and drippy under the mask. Now that formalities and justifications were made, she waited, quietly, if not inquisitively, for an answer to the unspoken question. Why haven't we ever seen who the real Marybell Lyman is? They all waited. For an explanation about her appearance, with plenty of side-eye and questions in the form of an entire conversation played out with only the expressions on their faces. Em folded her fists at her waist, resting them on her slender hips, her teeth working the corner of her lower lip. Dixie placed her forearm over her chest, resting her other arm in the crook of it, and cupped her chin with her hand, blatantly stumped. LaDawn just left the opportunity for flies to congregate in her mouth, which was now unabashedly wide open. Marybell waited, too. Her fuzzy, medicated brain was searching for a way to handle this without turning it into a topic of long discussion, wherein she explained why no one ever saw her freshly scrubbed face. Under any other circumstances, mentally guessing who'd crack first under the pressure of etiquette would have been as much fun as watching Nanette Pruitt bluster when Marybell sat next to her in church and sang "Onward, Christian Soldier," loud and entirely off-key. The stunning difference between this MB, sans red and green spiked mohawk, heavy eye makeup, nose ring, and facial piercings, and the one sitting before them had to be killing them. This was the Marybell Lyman not a solitary soul had seen in at least 4 years, except her bathroom mirror just before she spent an hour applying the People Shield. If she were a betting kind, she'd lay bets on LaDawn, the most vocal of their group. And while Southern to her last breath, she was also unashamedly opinionated and outspoken. There was no subtext to LaDawn, and it was probably one of the things Marybell loved most about her. She was an ex-lady of the evening, or as she jokingly called her former profession, a companionator. Words weren't something LaDawn struggled with.